皆さん、こんにちは。今日日本語でやります。Anybody speak Japanese? I think we've got a few groups streaming in from Japan watching, so I wanted to say hello to them. As well as when I was speaking there last week, I started in English giving a Japanese presentation, and they challenged me to, why don't you use Japanese at the beginning of your English one? So, all right, we'll give it a try. Before I get too far into this, I wanted to get a sense of who's here. So who are the carriers in the room? Who's running services? Okay. So those can be virtual, any way you're doing it, all right? Who are app developers? Okay. Representing enterprises. Okay. So whoever didn't raise their hand, that's who Alan paid to fill a seat? Is that what we've got here? Okay. There we go. All right. So originally, this was supposed to be called API or Die. But our marketing team thought that I was a little too out there. But now that we're in a basement here in a hotel, I think API or Die was probably a fine choice. But I wanted to share a little bit with you about what we're seeing in the market. As you know, Rescom and Telestax, we're in 80% of the carriers out there. We got 5,000 deployments. We're talking to people all day long. And we hear lots of good things, interesting things, and we also get a lot of requests of, can you help with this? And so I wanted to just share some of the thoughts and information that we're getting literally around the world. This is consistent in every market. I'm in the middle of kind of a world tour. I spent a week in Latin America about 3 weeks ago. I was in Japan all week last week, here in Europe. This week we'll have some other customer meetings the rest of the week in Paris and London. And it doesn't matter who I'm talking to, we hear the same thing. Everyone wants a piece of you. The games have changed. The carriers used to have these really, really tall walls that wouldn't let anybody on their network. Those walls are gone. Everything is coming over the top. Now, we've known that on the consumer side for years, right? Skype started that. We've had lots of things coming in at the consumer level. But now with the advent of the retail CPaaS, we have companies that are now coming in and stealing the enterprise customer, taking what we think is probably the highest margin business that's out there. And so if you look at it graphically, there's zero revenue for service providers associated with over-the-top apps, right? But yet they're using their network. Most of us are still kind of in the transport business, so that ends up being wholesale rates that we're making. Now what's interesting, when I talk to carriers, they're not losing revenue. They're losing margin. And a lot of that is because they're actually selling minutes to higher margin products. But we're stuck in that little gray area where the over-the-top guys or the application players are driving the most value across the network. And so many of us in this room aren't participating in that. So one of the things that I'm really excited about with what Alan's put together with the TAD Hacks and here with the Summit is we're creating a new ecosystem. This is the next generation of communications. And so our vision at Telestax is to try and figure out how we can come together and all make money in this new opportunity that's coming together. And so that's why it's important to kind of understand which role we're playing, because we all have a role in this new story. The reason I talk about API or Die is because we're starting to see numbers now from the enterprise that they would prefer to purchase services via an API rather than through a telecom connection. I wonder why. This takes 5 minutes, this takes 5 days or longer, right? So what's critical for us is, as an industry, how do we connect with our current customers and stay valuable to them? Because if you think about how things have evolved, many of us, most of us in the room maybe, we remember the old TDM days, right? So we had these switches, In mid-90s comes VoIP and then this protocol called SIP, and it was all new for all of us. We didn't know what to do with it. Everybody came up with their own flavor of it, but we've settled on that. And as an industry, I don't know a service provider that doesn't provide a SIP interface to their network. Well, this is what's happening with the API layer. We're going to be transitioning from what we've all put together in the SIP world to where we all need to have these APIs to be able to talk to our customers. So in the same way that we thought, what's SIP? Many of us might be thinking, what are these APIs? That's where we're headed. All of us have to figure out how we can implement and provide APIs to our customers, or we will die. The business will go somewhere else. And there's real business. That's what's exciting. If you look at the companies in our industry, Alan touched on some of the acquisitions, things are happening. It's starting to shake loose. There's been a few of us that have been pushing this rock up the hill a long time. And I think we're about to tip it over the top, okay? We're getting close to crossing that chasm. We're seeing some real revenue. Everybody had record quarters last quarter that are in this type of business. I don't know if you had a chance to read Alan's article that he's put out a day or two ago talking about old telco all going down and the new guys having record quarters. That's the opportunity that's here around us. But we have to take advantage of it in the right way. What customers are looking for are ways to interface with voice, messaging, video, and location or mobile. These are all critical elements that each service provider or each enterprise customer is looking for. If you think about the end user, at the end of the day, that's who we all have to serve, is each of us are in a different stage of life, right? I look at my son, I don't think he's ever called his girlfriend. It's all been texting, right? Maybe some FaceTime once in a while, who knows? But the key point here is that each of us want to interact with the brand, with the company, in the way that's most comfortable for us. So if I'm a business, I want, more than one, I need to provide a channel by which my end users are most comfortable engaging with me. Okay? We often call that Omnichannel. What I find interesting is as an industry, we can't even figure out how to spell it. But omni is kind of this omnipotent type of concept, right? Where with one interface, with one interaction, I can access the resources that I need to provide the services that my customers are looking for. Okay? And data is backing that up in a big time way. So as we think about the enterprise and their end customer, how do we mix and match voice, video, messaging, location, mobile, these types of IoT types of capabilities so that the end user can have the absolute best experience possible, okay? That's where we're starting to see large enterprise make significant investments, is in the end user experience. APIs, programmable telecoms, CPaaS, whatever name you want to use, basically is giving the enterprise the ability to create this nice interface. They may have silos and ugly legacy stuff in the back, but if we can help them create this nice veneer on the front end, we're bringing significant value to the enterprise and their customers. So most of us know what we need to drive and provide, but here's just some examples of within the voice world, we don't need a PBX anymore, but we need PBX features, okay? The user experience isn't the phone anymore, it's the application I live in at my desk at work, or my desk at home in most cases now, right? So that's the CRM system I'm using, that's SAP, that's my HR software. These are the new user interfaces for communications. That's why the APIs are so critical. You can't plug a PBX in the back of your SAP system. It just doesn't work, right? You need a RESTful API that you can talk to each other. You put a click to call button there. You send it off, you record it. Maybe you need to transfer it. So you can do all of these PBX-like things, but it's in a different format, a different user experience. Does that make sense? That's where this is all going. So these are the types of features that need to be available in bite-sized pieces. I need to do this. I need to do that. I'm going to mash it up, and I'm going to put it into my business process and use it. One of the things that we've learned is that SMS and messaging could be the most critical component of that. Every company needs to alert somebody about something and remind them about something. It's in every process that we go through. So SMS is an absolute critical element to anything that you might think about when it comes to this type of user experience and APIs. And then the last thought is that WebRTC in some cases is being called CPaaS 2.0 because it brings all of this together in a very lightweight fashion that's even easier to integrate and use in these types of experiences. So that brings the video and that type of element into it as well. So WebRTC is absolutely critical as you start looking to pull these components together. The next thing that's important is what's the business model, right? Are we just going to go sell APIs? Are we going to charge a nickel more, 0.2 of a penny more? We're back into the wholesale business, and we're all going to have this price compression again on APIs in a couple of years. So one of the things that we've been looking at Telestax is creating a new ecosystem, which we call the ResCom One Marketplace. And so what we're trying to accomplish is everyone here in the room knows we're an enabling technology. That's our background, that's our history, that's what we're good at. And so service providers have been asking us to help enable them to become a CPaaS, to become a programmable telco. And so that's where we've been focusing. But as we've done that, we're recognizing that just the CPaaS API features, really that only allows them to play defense, which is critical. It keeps, if one of their customers where they already have an SLA, they've got their MSA contract, they already have the agreement in place, if they can overlay some services, then that's their defense to keep all of this new stuff out, right? So that's critical for them. That's defense. What we need to look at is how can we increase margins, how can we help them drive incremental revenue? And what's been interesting, I don't know, maybe some of you had the same experience. Most meetings I come into, given kind of our ResCom background, is what's the killer app? It's like, I don't know. As telco people, we can't develop a killer app. It's impossible, okay? All we worry about is high availability, scalability, and horizontal. There's nothing vertical in our personalities at all. You have to have someone that lives and dies inside a business process in order to create a killer app, okay? So one of the critical things in our thinking is being able to open up the APIs in a way that vertical-oriented applications can come in and be part of this ecosystem together, okay? It's really bringing the network and the applications together. Now, unfortunately, Eddie Fox from Mettel isn't here. I'll share a quote when we started talking to Mettel about this process. They're one of our carriers that we work with on this, and they said, this is perfect. We have the customer, the SLAs and the network, you have the platform and the developers. This is like peanut butter and chocolate. Is anybody old enough to remember the Reese's commercials? So that's what we're able to provide with this new ecosystem, and that's why we're so excited about TadHacks. And look at Voxus, who was once a winner, now a company, and now they're in our marketplace. We're able to bring this new intellectual property, these killer apps that are vertically oriented, into a marketplace where now the service providers can take those to market in a revenue share model. So this is exciting for us and why we're so happy to be here as a sponsor and work with everyone, because we see everyone playing a role in this. And it's really important because it matters on the bottom line. This table on the left is today's business. We're selling a minute for 0.2 of a penny or an SMS message for 0.2 of a penny, right? That's the business that we're in. That's the transport. If you're a CPaaS, you add an API to it and you go, wow, now I'm making 0.6 of a penny. Where we are missing out is we're not participating in the value proposition that applications are bringing over our networks, okay? So in our revenue share model, we do a 50% share with the application providers, 30% to the service provider, and Telestax takes 20. And so in that model, we have applications that maybe charge 10 cents per SMS message because their application is so valuable. So now for that same message going across your network, instead of getting 2-3 of a penny, maybe you're getting 2 or 3 cents. That's a magnitude more revenue for you as a carrier. And as an application provider, you now have a channel by which you can take that to market. So we see this as very powerful in driving incremental margin and opportunity for really everyone in this room. We don't have time to go through all of this, but we're approaching about 20 different partners in our marketplace with mobile, fixed line, VoIP, chatbots. We're not looking to be the next iTunes. It's quality over quantity. But if you have an interesting solution that can be taken to market that an enterprise can consume or a mobile network can consume, we'd love to talk to you about joining us in the marketplace. And those that you have customers and network, here's applications that are already pre-integrated into the platform. There's no development. We just go and start selling. So we're really excited about the quality of the partners that we have. You'll actually hear from many of them this afternoon as they tell their story about their application and how they're going to market. One last thought, though, that's important is when we talk about APIs, we too often forget about the business analyst or the guys like me that can't code. A visual design tool is absolutely critical moving forward. We've got an example with Virgin Mobile in Latin America where they're using our USSD in the cloud. And it used to take them weeks, sometimes months, to change the menu on their USSD. I think many of us have lived that. Well, with a visual design tool, what's happened is they have tripled their USSD traffic in 2 months. And these are millions of messages. This isn't going from 2 to 6. And the reason is they no longer have to go back to the technical team to make any changes. The business analyst gets the data from the customer and goes, oh, this doesn't work so well. Let's tweak the menu. Literally 10 minutes later, they're pushing that back out to the customers. And they're immediately seeing the traffic go up. Incremental change, incremental change. So it puts the power, you can now move at the speed of business rather than waiting maybe for a technical team or some hard coding or what might take place. So that's really important in the big picture of how you can grow the business and drive traffic across your network is how can you expand it to the largest user base possible. Just in closing, a brief update a little bit on Telestax. We now have 3 offerings. All of us are quite aware of our community with Rescom and the work that as Harold likes to call Jean these days with his beard, our API Jesus. But and we have seen him walk on water, so it's I think it's true. But the work that he's continued to do with the community and grow that, we've got 10,000 developers that have been touching this platform. We're approaching 5 million lines of code, and a lot of that is thanks to many of you for participating in that. But that's the power of the community, right? We're able to do things as a group that no single company can. And so I'd like to take this time to thank many of you that have been direct participants of that. With our marketplace, we're hopeful that we can now give back and bring you into a business model where we can actually make some money together based on some of that past work that we've done. We're about 100 employees now. We still don't have an office. Something we're proud of. We've got employees, I think we're approaching 25 countries. It's a unique culture that is just awesome. I like to tell the story of one of our engineers. Her name's Maria. She's a woman in Pakistan, and she just wrote and filed one of our first patents. without this type of environment, this hacking environment, this open source environment, we would have never found an employee like Maria. And so we embrace who we are. I think there's 3 people in Austin. They might say that they're going to go open an office, but I don't think we're going to let them. So things are going well. We raised some money over the summer, and so we're growing and working. And just there's a few of the customers that we're working with today. We have 3 products. So we've got the open source piece. We've got our ResCom One, which is our commercial platform for on-premise. And now, since May in our announcement, we have ResCom One Marketplace, which is our cloud offering. And even though it's a cloud offering of CPaaS type services, again, it's an enabling OEM wholesale type of model where we work behind the scenes with service providers, CPaaS enabling them. And I'd just like to leave you with that thought of what CPaaS enablement is. We talk a lot about CPaaS in the news today. What we believe is that you already are doing some things really, really well. And so there's no reason for us to go and say, let's rip and replace what you've got today and replace it with Telestax. What we want to do is help work with you and take what you've got and make it a little bit better. Let's wrap some APIs around that voice network so that you can go compete with these retail CPaaS players. If you don't have messaging, let's bring that. If you don't have WebRTC, let's bring that and then work together. And by integrating your network into our cloud, you then are connected directly to our marketplace. And so now you have access to a revenue share model with all these really cool applications. And so that's where we really want to focus, is working together, creating this next generation ecosystem, and take all this hype and actually turn it into a few dollars and euros and yen. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kevin. Time for just one quick question. If not, I will ask it. So you've got all these services in the marketplace. Who actually sells them to the end customer?
So our service providers are selling them. So we were at MetTel all day Wednesday meeting with 15 of their largest Fortune 500 enterprise customers. So we were pitching all of our marketplace partners. We didn't even talk about CPaaS. So that's how it's working.
Cool. Excellent. Thank you so much, Kevin.
You bet.